What if I told you that the life you're living today wasn't shaped by one big decision, but by hundreds of tiny choices you barely remember making? Think about it. The person you become 5 years from now won't be determined by one perfect day. It will be determined by what you repeatedly do on ordinary days. Most people spend their lives searching for a breakthrough, a better job, more motivation, the perfect morning routine, the secret formula for success. Yet they overlook the one thing quietly shaping their future every single day: their habits. The frightening part is this: every habit is a vote for the person you're becoming. Whether you realize it or not, you're casting those votes every single day. So the question isn't whether your habits are changing your life. The question is, are they changing it in the direction you actually want? Today, we're going to uncover the hidden psychology behind lasting change, why most people fail to build better habits, why motivation disappears, and how small daily actions can quietly reshape your future. By the end of this audiobook, you'll see your daily routine in a completely different way. Let's begin. We often believe that extraordinary lives are built through extraordinary actions. History, however, tells a different story. Great athletes aren't created by one incredible workout. Successful businesses aren't built from a single brilliant idea. Strong relationships don't grow because of one perfect conversation. Behind every remarkable result lies something much quieter: consistency. Tiny actions repeated long enough eventually become impossible to ignore. This audiobook isn't about chasing overnight success or relying on temporary motivation. It's about understanding how everyday choices shape your identity, influence your future, and how slowly they become the foundation of the life you live. Throughout the next few chapters, we'll explore why most habits fail, how small improvements create extraordinary results, why your environment influences your decisions more than you think, and how consistency can outperform raw motivation. You don't need to change everything today. You only need to understand one simple truth: small actions repeated consistently can create extraordinary outcomes over time. With that in mind, let's begin with the first lesson.
Chapter 1: Why Most Habits Never Last. Almost everyone has promised themselves that this time will be different. You decide to wake up early, exercise every morning, read a few pages each night, or finally stop wasting hours on distractions. The first day feels exciting. The second day still carries momentum. By the end of the week, that excitement begins to fade. Soon the old routine quietly returns. Many people assume this happens because they lack discipline. They blame motivation, personality, or even luck. Yet the real problem often lies somewhere else. Human behavior rarely changes overnight. Imagine trying to push a huge stone resting at the bottom of a hill. During the first few pushes, nothing seems to happen. You may even believe your effort is pointless. But each push adds a little more force. Eventually, the stone begins to move. Once it gains momentum, keeping it rolling becomes much easier than starting it. Personal change works in a similar way. Small actions may appear insignificant today, but they accumulate in ways that are difficult to notice from one day to the next. Reading 5 pages may not make you wiser tomorrow. Saving a few dollars may not make you wealthier next week. Walking for 15 minutes may not transform your health immediately. Still, every repeated action quietly shapes your future. The mistake most people make is expecting dramatic results after only a few attempts. When those results fail to appear, they conclude that the habit itself does not work. In reality, they often quit just before consistency begins to produce meaningful change. Think about learning a musical instrument. During the first few practice sessions, progress feels painfully slow. Fingers move awkwardly, mistakes happen constantly, and improvement is almost invisible. Yet months later, the same person can perform songs that once seemed impossible. The difference was not talent alone, it was repetition. Another reason habits fail is that people focus only on the outcome. They tell themselves, I want to lose weight, I want better grades, or I want more money. While these goals provide direction, they cannot carry you through everyday decisions. Daily actions matter far more than distant dreams. A person who spends just a few minutes each day making better choices gradually becomes someone who naturally lives differently. The change is not dramatic at first, it is quiet, almost invisible. Yet over months and years, those choices begin to define who that person becomes. This is why lasting improvement rarely comes from one big decision. It grows from ordinary moments, repeated again and again. Before moving forward, ask yourself one question. What is one small action you could repeat every day, even on your busiest day? That answer may seem too simple to change your life, but lasting transformation often begins with something that looks too small to matter.
Chapter 2. Small actions shape extraordinary lives. Think about the last decision you made today. Perhaps you reached for your phone before getting out of bed. Maybe you chose water instead of a sugary drink. You might have spent 10 minutes reading or 10 minutes scrolling through social media. None of those choices seemed important at the time. That is exactly why habits are so powerful. They rarely announce themselves as life-changing moments. Instead, they quietly become part of your routine until they define the direction of your life. Imagine two friends starting from the same place. They have similar jobs, similar opportunities, and similar goals. One decides to spend just 15 minutes every evening learning a new skill. The other spends those same 15 minutes doing something that brings only temporary entertainment. After one day, there is almost no difference between them. After 1 week, the difference is still difficult to notice. But after a year, those small daily decisions have accumulated. One person has developed knowledge, confidence, and new opportunities. The other may wonder why life seems unchanged. The gap was never created in a single day. It grew quietly through ordinary choices repeated hundreds of times. Many people underestimate this process because they judge progress by immediate results. They expect today's effort to produce today's reward. Real growth often follows a different pattern. A seed planted in healthy soil does not become a tree overnight. For a long time, most of the important work happens where no one can see it. Roots spread beneath the ground before branches ever reach the sky. Personal development works in much the same way. Each time you repeat a positive action, you strengthen your ability to repeat it again. Confidence grows from evidence. Discipline grows from repetition. Progress grows from consistency. This does not mean you must be perfect. Missing one day does not erase months of effort. Everyone faces interruptions, unexpected challenges, and difficult seasons. What matters most is returning to the habit instead of allowing one mistake to become a permanent pattern. Success is rarely built on dramatic moments of motivation. More often, it is built on ordinary days when you choose to continue, even when no one is watching and the results are still invisible. Ask yourself this: what small action could you repeat every day for the next year? It doesn't need to be impressive. It only needs to be realistic enough that you can continue when life becomes busy. Extraordinary lives are often shaped by ordinary decisions, repeated with patience long enough for their true impact to appear. Chapter 3. Become the person before you chase the result. Most people ask the wrong question when they want to change. They ask, what do I want to achieve? A more powerful question is, who do I want to become? There is a subtle but important difference between those two ideas. Imagine someone who wants to become healthier. If their only goal is to lose 10 pounds, their motivation may disappear as soon as they reach that number. But if they begin to see themselves as someone who values health, every small decision starts to reinforce that identity. One healthy meal is no longer just a meal. It becomes evidence of the kind of person they are becoming. The same principle applies to learning, business, relationships, and personal growth. A person who believes, I'm terrible at reading, is unlikely to pick up a book consistently. Someone who says, I'm becoming a lifelong learner, is more likely to make reading part of everyday life. Identity grows through repeated evidence. You don't become confident by waiting to feel confident. You become confident by collecting small victories. Each promise you keep to yourself sends a quiet message. I can trust myself. Those messages matter. Every time you choose to act in line with the person you want to become, you strengthen that identity. Every action is like casting a vote. One vote doesn't decide the outcome, but hundreds of votes eventually shape the result. This also means you don't need perfection. Missing a workout doesn't make you an unhealthy person. Skipping one study session doesn't make you a failure. What matters is the overall pattern, not a single moment. Many people give up because they let one mistake define them. Instead, treat setbacks as temporary interruptions rather than permanent labels. Ask, what can I do next, rather than why do I always fail? That simple shift keeps your attention on progress instead of self-criticism. Real transformation is rarely loud. It happens quietly through ordinary decisions that are repeated until they become part of your character. Before moving to the next chapter, take a moment to reflect. If someone watched your daily actions for the next 30 days, what kind of person would they believe you are becoming? The answer to that question may reveal far more than your goals ever could. Chapter 4. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. Have you ever promised yourself that today would be different, only to fall back into the same routine? Maybe you planned to read before bed, but your phone ended up in your hand. You intended to eat healthier, yet the first thing you saw when you opened the fridge was unhealthy food. It felt like you failed because you lacked discipline. But what if the problem wasn't your willpower? Imagine walking into two different rooms. The first room is quiet. A book sits on the desk, your phone is out of sight, and everything around you supports focus. The second room is filled with distractions. Notifications keep appearing, the television is on, and your workspace is cluttered. In which room would it be easier to concentrate? The answer is obvious. Our surroundings quietly influence our decisions every single day. Most of the time, we don't even notice it. We like to believe every choice is made through logic and determination, but the environment makes the first decision before we do. That's why successful people don't rely on motivation alone. They build environments that make good choices easier and bad choices less convenient. If you want to drink more water, keep a bottle where you can see it. If you want to read more, leave a book on your pillow before leaving for work. If you want to reduce screen time, charge your phone across the room instead of beside your bed. These changes seem small, yet they remove friction from good habits while adding friction to unhelpful ones. Think about a supermarket. The products placed at eye level often receive the most attention. That isn't an accident. The environment is carefully designed to influence your decisions. Your home works the same way. Every object around you sends a silent reminder. Some reminders pull you toward progress. Others pull you back into old routines. The encouraging news is you can redesign those reminders. You don't have to rebuild your entire life overnight. Start with one room, one desk, or one daily routine. Small adjustments can change what feels natural. Lasting improvement becomes easier when success is built into your surroundings instead of depending on constant self-control. As you finish this chapter, take one slow look around the place where you spend most of your day. Ask yourself, does my environment support the person I'm trying to become or the habits I'm trying to leave behind? Sometimes, changing your life begins with changing what you see every day.
Chapter 5. Progress is built on consistency, not perfection. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that success belongs to those who never fail. In reality, almost everyone misses a day. A workout gets skipped. A healthy meal turns into fast food. A reading habit is interrupted by a busy schedule. These moments happen to everyone. The real difference appears in what happens next. Some people see one mistake as proof that they have failed. They think, I knew I couldn't stay consistent. That single thought often leads to another missed day, then another, until the habit disappears completely. Others respond differently. They accept the mistake without letting it define them. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, they simply return to the routine as soon as they can. That small decision makes an enormous difference over time. Imagine drawing a straight line across a paper. If your pencil slips for a moment, you don't throw away the paper. You place the pencil back on the line and continue. Personal growth works the same way. Perfection is not required. Recovery is. Many people wait for the perfect Monday, the perfect month, or the perfect moment to start again. Yet progress rarely comes from perfect timing. It comes from taking the next small step, even after an imperfect day. This mindset also reduces unnecessary pressure. When your goal is to be perfect, every mistake feels like failure. When your goal is to be consistent, every new day becomes another opportunity to continue. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. Nobody expects to balance perfectly on the first attempt. Falling is part of learning. The important part is getting back on the bicycle instead of deciding that riding simply isn't for you. Daily habits follow the same pattern. Each time you return after a setback, you strengthen resilience. You prove that one difficult day cannot erase weeks or months of effort. Before ending this chapter, remember one simple rule. Never allow one bad day to become two. Life will interrupt your plans. Unexpected events will happen. Motivation will rise and fall. But if you keep returning to the habits that matter, Even after setbacks, you give yourself the chance to build lasting change. Success is rarely the result of being perfect. More often, it belongs to the person who refuses to quit.